JB Cycles here with an update on September the 29th. So I've been quite busy lately at my job. We are making budgets for for the next year, and I haven't had that much time to follow the stock markets. But let's have a quick look here. I don't think much has changed since last weekend. We have, as usual, my 4 and 2 week cycle, my 4-week cycle, and the 2-week oscillation. And well, it looks like, the cycle topped just before the weekend, and of course we cannot drop much during the weekend. So on Monday the cycle is again turning a bit bullish, but we can't see any low here. So I still think we have some downside here coming the next few days, and maybe we are not perfectly in sync with the cycle. The cycle has been stable since, well, the bull market began in October, November 22, but it may change, or there can be temporary periods where the market is a bit out of sync with the cycle, and then it will either snap back or the cycle may change permanently. And if you go back, we see at this analog 1 month ago, we were also not quite in sync with the cycle. And then we can look at the one cycle, what is it called? The offset, one cycle offset. We see at this point, one cycle back, we started to crash. Well, I like to exaggerate a bit, but a steep drop began at this point in the cycle, one cycle back in time. So we have to see what will happen this time. I don't think we will see that kind of a drop. So we have this trend line, still a lot of space down to it, and it could be support sometime in the future. Let's have a look at some other stuff. Longer term, we have the 3.5-year cycle. We are still in this green period where my trading rules say shorting is forbidden, and this period goes into November, December. And we cannot see any real topping formation here yet. So it's still a bull trend, and no reason to get real bearish yet. But we maybe are seeing some weakness here. We are not quite reaching the top of this channel, and the cycle is soon turning down, so possible warning sign. And this could be a short ABC bull market of about 2 years. We are in this zone where this ABC, where the C could top out anytime now. And I had this these two scenarios, either that we could make a top around August or around the election early November. And I was a bit confused here a couple of weeks ago, which of these projections are we following? But now it does absolutely look like we are following this red one. Maybe a little bit weakness this first few weeks, and then a last move up into the election. Of course, there's another, or I should say a third scenario, where the uptrend continues into the winter and spring. That would be my normal expectation from a 3.5-year cycle, because normally we top out well after this green bullish period. But as I have shown, my longer term cycles, the 28-year cycle and the 56-year war cycle, suggest we could top out early this time. I have this other cycle of 73.5 weeks, and a possible scenario where you could call it an inversion, or two cycles merging into one. And the scenario here would be that we were just at the cycle low, but we cannot see a real, a deep cycle low in the market. and we could turn down early, like these analogs here from 2000, 2007, and the previous bull market high. And here's the previous bull market high. It is kind of similar, suggesting maybe a choppy move the next month into a final high around the election. But shorter term, I have these medium-term cycles. They suggested the weakness from late July and now into late September. And the market has gone mostly sideways in this period. And now the cycles, or the composite, is very bullish into early November. So I would not look for any bearish setup here into before early November or getting closer to the election. But that doesn't mean it is impossible. But I would not look for that. And looking at the wavelets for the S&P, this does look bearish short term. Wavelets are turning down, suggesting market should not rally here. We should see either some sideways move or a pullback. And we have two analogs going back, this point and this point. So very similar, possible we get, like here, a consolidation and the last move, in this case up to the election, or back here, also call it some kind of a consolidation and the last move up. We see this trend line, we have a lot of room down to it, so no danger up here. And if we get a pullback and get oversold, both in time and price, that would be a perfect buying opportunity coming up sometime in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks maybe, 1 or 2 weeks. So it does look bearish, but maybe only result in a bullish consolidation. It is possible we could crash down here. This does look like a topping formation. I think this has a name, a correction and then an A, B, C. So it looks like, I don't know, a butterfly or a Gartley or something like that. So very possible we could crash down here if we break this trend line. But with my cycles and the scenarios, they are pointing to a top around the election. So some kind of a breakdown here could be a bear trap. And I think finally we have the hourly data for the Dow Jones Industrial. So we have the 2-week oscillation here. The market, and especially the Dow Jones, I have placed the 2-week oscillation low at this point, because that was what was projected from the previous low, and often I do see these these moves like this, and I do not place the oscillation like this. I call that's something that wasn't supposed to happen, or a bear trap or whatever. So I think, but then over here it gets a little bit messy. It looks like it should be like this, maybe, like this. So I'm not sure. Either could be correct. So either we are looking for a low around this point, or maybe a bit earlier around this point. So looking for a low around, what is it? That would be around Wednesday or maybe Thursday, Friday, sometime later this week, midweek. And that, if we go back to the cycle we started with here, that would suggest, a low sometime mid or late this week. And looking at the 1 cycle offset, we need a couple of days here to make some kind of a low. But it could also just be sideways and then another squeeze to the upside. So I would wait for some kind of a buying opportunity later this week. And still no reason to be very bearish, but this bull market could be very close to an end. But most likely at least 5-6 more weeks to go. See ya!